$80? I could use that money to get like one, maybe two sandwiches instead. With the release of Mario Kart World on the Switch 2 later this year, I thought it might be a good time to take a look at the past games to figure out which items I most enjoy and I'm hoping will be in this next game. I love Mario Kart. I've played every game in the main series, and I usually lose to my wife every single time that we play. Why is she so good at it? I'll be looking at pretty much every available item in the games, outside of the special character items from Double Dash, or any of the specific tour items, because that's like the one game in the series I haven't actually played. And if there's any items like the mushrooms or the shells where you can get a triple of them, I'm just going to count that as one item, because it's the same thing, just 3 of them. That's better. The math checks out. So I'll be ranking these pretty much on how happy I am to get one in the middle of a race. Bananas. Just call me not Donkey Kong because I don't think I care for the bananas too much. I don't hate getting them, but I could do without. If you're dropping them behind you, at best it's going to further your lead in the race. At worst, everyone goes around it, you forget it's there and wipe out on your own damn banana. And if you have the banana and are trying to get someone directly behind you, they can see you have it and will most likely try to keep their distance. You do have the option to throw it in front of you, and I will say, when that hits, it's great. But it's kind of a shot in the dark on whether you can throw it like directly in front of a racer that way. And honestly, when I'm in first place and just get banana after banana, I kind of get annoyed with it. So I think we're going to go with a B tier. Fake item boxes. These are sort of in the same territory as the banana. They're mostly useful just to slow down any opponents behind you, but you do kind of have to place them a bit more strategically. They're a lot more noticeable than bananas, so if a player's coming up on like a random block in the middle of the track with nothing else around it, it's going to be a little suspicious. However, if you place it in a hard to avoid spot or even right next to some real item blocks, it can definitely get the job done. But it's a decent item, but you have to be a lot more careful when placing them for it to actually have an effect. So I'm going to go C tier. Coins. I feel like the coin is a little underappreciated. I'm sure most of you probably know, but having the coins boosts your top speed, so the more coins you have, the faster you go. So if you're a little short on coins from the track, you can get one of these bad boys and give yourself a little boost. But they do feel like a little bit of a letdown, especially when it comes to other items. Would you rather get something that's going to help you take out another player for a few seconds and give you a chance to take the lead, or go slightly faster? They're also pretty easy to lose. Getting hit just one time will make you feel like you're Sonic. I don't mind getting the coins, but I also think I'd rather get almost any offensive item instead. So I'm going to go C tier. Mushrooms. A staple in every Mario game. However, in this series, instead of growing a little bigger, you instead use it as, a decent boost. Only lasting a couple seconds though. But these definitely come in handy a lot of the time, whether you're trying to catch up to the front, maintain some distance, or you can even use these to cut through shortcuts every once in a while. I do think if you're a skilled enough racer, you don't really need the advantage that the mushroom gives you, but they do definitely come in handy, and I'm never really upset about getting one. I'd say A tier. Golden Mushroom. Now, the Golden Mushroom has the same effect as the regular one, except instead of 1 or 3 bursts of speed, you get an unlimited amount for a short period of time. Depending on how you use it, it can definitely come in handy more than a regular one would. It can help you catch up or maintain distance a bit more than a regular mushroom would. However, with that short time span you get to use it, I almost would prefer having the triple instead, since you can use those a bit more precisely. Once you start the golden mushroom, you only have that short amount of time to use it, but it can definitely be pretty clutch depending on your position in the race. I think I'd put this on the same level as the regular mushroom, so we're going to go A tier. Star. The star in Mario Kart works just like the star in the Super Mario games, making you invincible for a short period of time. It doesn't last very long, but depending on when you get it, it can be a bit of a game changer. The star is always a good one to get and probably the best defensive item, and if you're nearby other racers, it can be a good offensive item at the same time. The star is one of the best. Let's go in S tier. Lightning Bolt.
Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt!
I think the Lightning Bolt is a great item that I don't get as much as I'd like to in most races. This is one of the few items that affects every racer on the track and definitely the most effective out of the bunch, wiping out every other racer and then shrinking them, which makes them tiny and slows them down, giving you a chance to catch up if you've fallen behind. This is going to throw everyone else off their groove and cause a massive disruption to every other racer with basically no downsides to you. Honestly, I think this one's pretty underrated. It's a great offensive tool and I can't think of a single downside to it. So I'm going to go S tier. Blooper. Now, while this is another wide-reaching item affecting everyone else, it kind of sucks. All it does is put some ink blots on the screen, but really it's only somewhat effective if you're actually playing against real people. I'm pretty sure that if you're playing single player, this doesn't really have any effect since the other racers are AI and don't have actual screens. But even playing against other humans, it's not really super effective either. Like, I don't think a blooper attack has ever caused me to crash, it's just mildly annoying. But you can still drive just fine for the most part. This one just feels kind of useless to me, and I've never once been glad to get it, so I'm gonna say D tier. Bob-omb. I like the Bob-omb, but it's a bit of a wild card.
Wild card, bitches!
It's really just a bomb that blows up anything a certain radius. You know, like a bomb.
They're bombs. Oh.
But it definitely can help you get rid of other drivers on your tail, and if you're willing to risk it, you can toss it ahead of you to try to take out anyone in front. Only issue is it's very easy to blow yourself up if you don't hit the right spot, or at least in my experience. But that's also true for pretty much any bomb, so I guess I can't fault them for that. I think I'd put this on B tier. Boo. Boo is another one of those that I think is pretty underrated. It's not flashy like a shell or a star, but it can really swing the race if you use it correctly. Not only does it steal an item from another racer for you, but while it's doing its thing, you become invisible and invincible. So it's almost like using a star, but you also get somebody else's item after. It doesn't last quite as long as the star does, but it's still got its upsides. The items you get are pretty much random since it depends on what the other drivers are carrying, which could be great, because that could mean you could get something that you wouldn't normally get in the same position, but it could also swing the other way and give you something that you really don't want. So the stealing bit is kind of 50-50, but throwing that on top of the temporary invincibility, I think this item's pretty good. I'd say A tier. Boomerang. I think the boomerang has the potential to be a really good item. You get 3 throws with it, where you launch it in front and it hits whatever and whoever's in your path, but then does the same on the way back. So it's almost like using a triple green shell since you have to aim it correctly to actually get some hits. But there's been some moments where I've absolutely wrecked shit with this. But for every great throw I've had like 10 terrible throws with it that hit absolutely nothing, because I can't aim worth shit. So while it's definitely user error, I don't get super excited to get these, because at this point I just know there's a good chance it's going to end in disappointment. But those few times it doesn't, it's great. I'd say B tier. Bullet Bill. I don't think there's a single other item that's as good for people in last place. When you get this guy, it turns you and your car into a speeding bullet that smashes through everything in your way. It even steers for you, so you can activate this guy and just sit back and relax for a second. There's a couple of downfalls with it though. Firstly, you can only get it if you're pretty far behind in the pack. So if you're doing alright in the race, you probably won't see one of these. And also, since it's steering for you, you might miss a shortcut. Or if you're really unlucky, it's going to drop you right in front of a hazard, which could end up pretty badly. But I think this one does do a pretty good job at leveling the playing field a little bit. But like I mentioned, you're probably not even getting one of these unless you're already trailing pretty far behind. So I'd go with C tier. Feather. One of the more rare items on the list, the feather's only available during races in Super Mario Kart for the SNES and in the battle mode for Mario Kart 8. However, I feel like a comeback's due for this one, so we'll see when World comes out. When using the feather, it lets you jump over obstacles, other players, and can even help you find some shortcuts. I think this one would definitely come in handy if it was more widely available. Being able to dodge other racers and hazards would just be a great tool to have in the game, and it's crazy that there's really only one game that you can use this in. Having not had the chance to use it too much outside of the original game, I'm going to go with C tier for now, but I feel like if it gets brought back, it's going to be a pretty good item. Fire Flower. I like the Fire Flower, but it's one of those items that I feel like I rarely ever get. It lets you launch fireballs at your opponent, wiping them out if it hits them. You can definitely be pretty strategic with these, but I'm not. I don't have time for that, so I just spam them right away. You do only get a certain amount of them to use, so if you use them wisely, they can definitely come in handy, but I don't do that. But that's kind of a me issue. So let's say B tier. Lucky 7. First appearing in Mario Kart 7, the Lucky 7 is basically just kind of hitting the jackpot. You get a red shell, a green shell, banana, bob-omb, mushroom, star, and a blooper all at once as they spin around your cart. You can be deliberate with these and use them as you please, or you can button mash and hope for the best. You hit the star first, you got free reign to mash away with no consequences. You hit that bob-omb first, you might just blow yourself up and lose the other 6 items. It's high risk, high reward, so I feel like I'm going to put this one on A tier. Crazy 8. Now, in Mario Kart 8, you get the Lucky 7 as an option again, but now it's got a coin. Doesn't really make that much of a difference in my eyes, so we're going to put that on A as well. Mega Mushroom. Only available in Mario Kart Wii, the Mega Mushroom's taken from the new Super Mario Bros. Games, and just like in that game, it makes you giant and invincible, while also giving you a little bit of a speed boost. You smash your way through any obstacle and flatten any driver in your way. And of course, while you're embiggened, nobody can stop you with any items since you're basically invincible. So this is sort of in the same realm as like the Bullet Bill since it lets you catch up quickly with no repercussions. Only I think I like this one a bit more since you're in control of your driving and who doesn't want to squish everything in their path? I think I'm going to go A tier. Piranha Plant. I actually really like the Piranha Plant. I think it's great basically all around. It'll attack any other drivers nearby, collect coins for you, and if there's nothing for it to bite, it's just going to give you a couple little boosts by biting the track in front of you and dragging you along. If you're in the middle of a pack and get this guy, it's going to clear your way and put you at the front of the crowd without even having to do much besides drive. And if anyone tries to attack you while it's equipped, it's going to eat any shells that come your way or any bananas in your path. This honestly might be the most well-rounded item. I'm going to put it on S tier. POW Block. Here we've got another Mario Kart Wii exclusive. This item's more of a disruption than anything else. Using it causes the ground to shake and any drivers in front of you will lose control and spin out as well as losing their items. So while it can definitely cause a disturbance to the other racers, it's not as useful as say like the lightning bolt, because with this one, if you time it correctly, you can completely avoid being affected by it. So while it's an alright item to get and definitely better than the blooper, the lightning bolt's just a better version of this, so I'm going to put this one on C tier. Super Horn. The Super Horn isn't the best offensive item, although it can knock out any carts nearby in a certain radius, but as a defensive weapon, I think this thing's fantastic. If you're in first place and you get one of these bad boys, you're set. Doesn't matter whether the shell is green, red, or blue, if you see it coming up on your tail, you can use this horn to just destroy it before it destroys you. And that is absolutely invaluable. If you're in first place, this is probably the best item to get, so I'm going to put this on S tier. Super Leaf. Only appearing in Mario Kart 7, the Tanuki Leaf acts sort of similar as it does in the core Mario games, giving your cart a little tail that you can use to whack away items and the other drivers. It's kind of like a hybrid defensive and short-range offensive item. You have to be right up next to somebody to hit them, and you have to time it just right to deflect any shells coming your way. But it's pretty fun to use, especially if you're in a big pack of racers. Outside of that though, I've never felt too strongly about this one, so I'm going to say C tier. Thundercloud. Another Mario Kart Wii exclusive. The Thundercloud can definitely be a bit more annoying than useful. It's a pretty unique item. First it gives you a boost, but afterwards it shocks you like the lightning bolt does, unless you end up bumping into another player which then passes it on to them, like a curse. This is probably the riskiest item to use in the whole series. If you're not nearby anyone else or don't drive well enough to bump into them, you're basically screwing yourself when you use it. Therefore, I'm not a big fan of this one, so I'm going to say D tier. And finally, the bread and butter of the Mario Kart items, the shells. Green shell. The green shell is kind of like the wild card out of the three.
Wild card, bitches!
When you launch this thing, it just goes straight in front or behind you, not locking onto any target or anything, and having sort of a mind of its own. Not only that, but if it hits a wall, instead of bursting, it bounces off and keeps going. So if you're not careful, your green shell is going to come back and wipe you out instead of someone else, which might be the most embarrassing thing that can happen in a Mario Kart race. But if you time it correctly, you can definitely take out some players ahead of you or just cause some chaos by tossing it behind you. I think it's a good one to get, but only if you're not able to get the other two shells basically, so I'm going to say B tier. Red shell. Now the red shell on the other hand is similar, only this time it locks onto whatever driver is directly in front or behind you. It's simple, it's effective, it gets the job done. Sometimes when it's locked onto you, you can try to outmaneuver it by running it into an obstacle, but more often than not, it's going to take you out. Even if you're in first place and someone's trying to catch up to you, just toss it behind you and slow them down. The red shell is just so practical and always comes in handy no matter where you're at in the race. I think this is probably one of the best items in the game, and every single time I get it, I'm glad I did. Red shell is S tier. And last up, we've got the blue shell. This one kind of works as a cross between the red shell and a bob-omb. You toss this thing out and it's finding its way to whoever's in first place and blowing up them and anything nearby them, while also taking out any players that it hits on the way. This thing can completely change the outcome of a race, especially if it's towards the end. You ever get hit with a blue shell 5 feet from the finish line during the third lap? How badly did you cry? It sucks to get hit by, but it's great to use. I do think it has one big downfall though, and that's that you're not getting one of these unless you're decently far behind, at which point, unless you take out every other racer on the way, it's not going to help you out too much. But it is going to absolutely ruin the day of whoever's in first place. I think the blue shell's great, it's chaotic, it can definitely turn the tides, but I don't think this one's S tier purely for the fact that you're only getting this if you're towards the back, whereas if you get the red shell in second place and use it well enough, you can steal the win right out from under the other racer's nose. So we're going to go right below red shell on A tier. And there you have it. Which items from the game are your favorite to come across? As for me, I'll be working on taking out a personal loan so I can get the game and find out if my favorites made the cut. Thanks for watching.